Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Fantasy Fight League. We are doing UFC 309, where we're going back to Madison Square Garden for John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. I am Casey, and I'm joined by Taylor, as always. How you doing today, my man?
Doing pretty good. New setup. Who dis?
Exactly. So, how are you feeling about this card overall before we get into it? You like this one?
I actually do like this card. It's just interesting enough throughout the card that I'm like somewhat invested pretty much all the way through.
That's fair. They're obviously John Jones fighting Stipe Miocic. We've been waiting for this fight for like literally years at this point. And then we have an interesting co-main in an actual rematch that's not that old. And then we got Bo Nickel, Paul Craig, and then we kind of got two nobodies on or two nobody fights to start off the card. But at the same time, looking at the records, I'm actually more interested in those than I originally thought I was going to be. So we'll get into those in a second. But yeah, I'm excited for this one. And I think we have some interesting picks. I have one cheeky parlay at the end, and I didn't see that you came up with a parlay at all. So you just got some straight bets. It looks like.
Yeah, I sent you two images, and one was just straight up a parlay.
Oh, was it?
In fact, most of my money is in a parlay.
Oh, the two pick parlay.
I
Oh no,
would,
the three pick parlay. Oh, okay. I see what you're on about. That's an interesting one. All right, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. So let's get into it. UFC 309 going down in New York City. We are looking at the SureDog website. This is going to be the place where we're pulling all of our data, all the stats, and bringing up some nice images. So first up, we have Mauricio Rufy versus James Yontop.
yeah, we
These
get
are
right
some
in,
interesting
we get
fighters.
right into the main card here.
I, I mean, what else? What else we got? We got Jonathan Martinez, Marcus McGee to top of the prelims. We also got Chris Weidman, Eric Anders. Are there any fights on the other prelims that we should be watching?
Um, yeah, let me go back. Let me go back to it real quick here. So I think that Veronica Hardy versus Eduardo Mora is interesting purely because it's Veronica Hardy, and people are interested in her because she obviously co-hosts with Dan Hardy and is married to, right? Um, and she's on a three-fight win streak, so she's not. She's doing okay with this new and renewed Veronica Hardy that took some time off after 2020, came back, and you know, two unanimous and a split decision. It's not like she's on a tear, but enough that you can say like, okay, she's only 29 years old. Like maybe we might see something out of her. You know, probably not going to be beating Valentina Shevchenko or Alexa Grasso, but maybe she'll be if she's not already a top 10 fighter.
Okay,
And
that's
let's see, we also got Basilov Fez versus Oban Elliott. They've both been around for a while. Um, Definitely still undercard fighters, but something to watch out for. Basil Fez coming off a win over Mickey Gall and a loss to Jack Della Maddalena. I'd say a split decision loss to Jack Della Maddalena is more impressive than a win over Mickey Gall, honestly. And remember correctly, that was the one where he kind of wrestle raped Jack Della Maddalena for a little bit, and it was kind of like, oh, maybe when we see Jack Della Maddalena next time against a good wrestler, might be kind of worried about him. Mickey Gall coming off a three fight loss streak, still not great, but he hasn't had a win streak since 2016. Put it that way. So
true.
interesting because we might see him getting cut. He was the guy that Mike Perry came back against when Mike Perry started having his girlfriend, now wife, I want to say, being the only person in his corner during COVID. So a little bit of investment there. Marcin Tybura, I'm pretty sure is the one with the weird haircut. Um, Sort of a perennial, just outside the top 15 heavyweight. I think certainly interesting. Starched by Tom Aspinall and Sergey Spivak and Alexander Volkov, but has a win over poor Tai Tuvasa. So maybe up on the rise. David Onama versus Robert Romero. Jim Miller, possibly his last fight. We'll see. Always great to see. Chris Weidman could be his retirement fight. Who knows? Versus Eric Anders. Um, Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGee. Marcus McGee, I believe, 10 fights professionally, fighting his way into the top of, I think that's bantamweight, I think I want to say, or it could be a flyweight. Let's see. Um, 135, yeah, bantamweight, and looking really good on a 5-fight win streak, but already 34. So we're gonna have to see if he can put enough wins together to make his way to the title before he sort of ages out of the picture. And then we're into the main card with Mauricio Rufy versus James Lontop. So just not anything crazy interesting on the undercard. Besides maybe Jim Miller and Chris Weidman, I think are interesting to at least see just as the veterans that they are. But enough that I'm kind of interested in all those fights, and I'll leave it on playing throughout the day while I'm not really paying attention, and then really sit down and start focusing when the main card comes around.
That's true. I will say, not Lontop, but Marcus McGee. He looks like he's on an absolute tear right now. So I'm excited to see what he does because we got
he's got to do it fast.
That's true. Although he's got some third round, he's got mostly third round finishes here.
I mean, he has to put these fights together fast. He's 34.
Oh yeah, he has 6 months, and then he just turns to dust, as all UFC fighters do when they hit 35.
Yeah. So if he has any hope of really making it into the top 5, then he's got to hurry up.
Yeah, there you go.
But looking good overall.
True. All right. With that being said, let's look at this first fight on the main card. So we got Mauricio Rufy and James Lontop. So Rufy, 10-1. You might notice something interesting about all of his fights, which is that somebody gets knocked out. Guaranteed.
Nothing but knockouts. Yeah,
it's either
it's mostly his opponent.
Correct. One time. And that one time was, 5 years ago in another promotion. But since then, the guy's been on a tear, came in through the Dana White Contender Series, only took one over there. And then he also has had one win in the UFC proper. And again, first round finish. So,
yeah, obviously the Fighting Nerds have been on an absolute tear. James Lontop is not anything impressive. I wouldn't even say he's the level of a gatekeeper. Meanwhile, Mauricio Rufy, if you're going off what the Fighting Nerds are saying about people, they're saying that he might be the best one in the gym, pound for pound right now. So, obviously an amazing prospect, and most likely James Lontop coming off a couple of losses, no wins in the UFC. I think he's just being thrown up there to give Mauricio Rufy a main card highlight and start building a name that they think is going to be profitable in the future.
That is actually one of the things that I was looking at on this one. So when it comes to Lontop, aka Goku, not a great choice because you're going to get proved wrong on that one. But yeah, notably, 2 fights in the UFC, 2 losses in the UFC. Only his last win was on the Dana White Contender Series, and then after that, I mean, he had a good run in some other promotions. He's been very active, like 3 fights 2023, 3 fights 2020, 4 fights 2021, and even 2 fights in 2020. So, I mean, he's 25. He's probably good, but at the same time, like, the UFC is just it's top tier. And unfortunately, I do believe that they might be feeding this guy to the Fighting Nerds for another beautiful highlight reel knockout, but we'll see.
Yeah, he's getting spit by Chris Padilla and has a decision loss to Vyacheslav Borshev. I mean, there's worse things out there, but at the end of the day, this guy's he's not the level of prospect that Mauricio Rufy is. Maybe he needs a couple more years. He's got a good record on him in terms of just generic fights down in Brazil. I guess that is with FFC Brazil, Team FFC, but maybe. But
as far as the bets go, he is the first leg of your 3-leg parlay.
What is he, like -800 or something?
We made our bets yesterday. He was -900 at the time. So yeah, it's. I don't want to call it a non-contest, but at the same time, it's And then for this one, I put $200 on him to get a win by knockout, only knockout, TKO or DQ, nothing else, and that was still a -150 bet. So, if that tells you anything, that's what people are thinking about this fight.
Absolutely, I think it's easy to see what people are picking them.
True. All right, let's get it going to the only women's fight on the main card. We got Viviane Araujo and Karine Silva.
Wow. Just what else can you say? Wow.
This is
possibly the fight that I'm least invested in the entire card, including the early prelims.
Yeah, it's entirely possible. So going through Viviane here real quick, 37, 12-6 right now. Decent spread of everything, but she tends to lose decisions, although she's 50-50 on them. But if she does lose, odds are it's by decision. She has had a handful of fights in the UFC going all the way back to 2019. So we got 1, 2-0, 2-1, 3-1, 4-1, 4-2, 5-2, 5-3, 5-4, 6-4, 6-5. So she's 6-5 in the UFC. Last loss to Natalia Silva. Lost to Alexa Grasso back in 2022. I mean, lately it has been a lot of decisions, and it goes either way. Now, let's go over to the killer. That would be Karine Silva. 18-4, 30 years young, and is on a bit of a tear right now. You might notice something interesting about all of the most recent fights, which is that she has been finishing people. Yeah, so we got one decision. We have a submission, 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 TKO, submission, submission, TKO, decision loss, submission loss, but then submission, TKO, submission, TKO. It's like this lady finishes. She wins. She doesn't take it to a decision. She finishes. So for me personally, I think that Karine Silva is going to take this one, and I do think she's going to finish as well.
I think that's a good bet. Obviously, a lot of people are making that bet. My issue with, and this happens a lot at these women's divisions, is you've got girls who are like pretty good, and they're kind of fighting girls who are just not there, because the women's divisions are just not that deep. Especially, I mean, 125 is better than 135, 145, but it can just be not that deep, and so they're finishing all these girls, because they're girls that really shouldn't be in there to begin with. They're just not impressive. And then, like you see, they start to dip into the top 15, and you're like, oh, there's a hard fought decision. And maybe this next step up. I understand that Vivian Arujo's, you know, not the most impressive, but she went to a decision with Alexa Grasso. So went to a loss with Kayla Chugian, a win over Roxanne Matafari in 2021. Not the best, but still was kind of over the hill at that point. But at one point, I think that Vivian Arujo was this girl who was coming up, and obviously not as good as the 9-fight win streak of Karine Silva. But I don't know. I think Karine Silva wins. I think she wins a hard fought decision.
This is
a clear but hard fought decision.
Fair enough. So I put money line on Karine Silva for minus 298, and then it looks like where are you at? You put decision at minus 225. No winner, but you think this will be settled by decision. Interesting.
I feel like that's definitely what happens when these girls kind of get to this level, and you see that they just don't have the finishing ability anymore that they did when they were fighting bums.
Just can crushing. Yeah, I actually bet the opposite way on this one, which is I do think there is going to be a finish. This is part of a parlay I will reveal towards the end. Oh. But yeah, this one is actually plus 165. It is a 5-pick parlay.
Is a finish? Does it require a finish to get your parlay on this one?
Yes.
All right. Well, let's keep going. We'll see how that goes.
It sounds crazy, but that is actually the riskiest bet I made on this entire card. Everything else is an underdog. Or is a favorite, actually. Excuse me.
Favorite, yeah.
It's either a strong favorite, or I even made like a proposition bet that is still a favorite. It's just because some of the odds were just absolutely wild. So speaking of odds that are absolutely wild, we have the next fight, which is Bo Nickel versus Paul Craig. Any guess as to which way this is heavily lopsided, as most of his fights usually are?
Yeah.
Is it the man that's 17-8-1, or is it the man that's 6-0? Hint,
I don't think
the man that's 6-0.
Paul Craig is triangling Bo Nickel on this one. The fact that he triangled Magomed Ankalaev is wild, but I don't think Bo Nickel is that stupid that he's going to let that happen to him. Obviously, Paul Craig has had success. He's got some wins that have aged really well, but
Yeah.
he's also recently been absolutely destroyed by Brendan Allen. And who was the last guy who got him?
Caio Baralho
Yeah, Kyle Baralho.
knocked out
Um,
second round.
yeah, and I just think the Bo Nickel. I think the Bo Nickel is a marauder, and I think he's just gonna. I think he's just gonna be too strong, too fast, and he's just gonna blast through Paul Craig at the end of the day. Now, would I be shocked if Paul Craig got some side of sort of like weirdo plotter or something on him? No, not particularly. It's what Paul Craig does, but it's not like Paul Craig does that all the time. He does that occasionally. Against future champs. So the question is, do you think Bo Nickel is so good that Paul Craig finishes him? I'd say no. I don't think Paul Nickel's that good. I think he's just way better than Paul Craig, but not championship level right now, better than Paul Craig.
I I would agree, but at the same time, just the man is on an absolute tear. He's only had one fight that went to the second round, and that was the last one against Cody Brundage. But other than that, the dude just finishes people. Like,
I don't know that Bo Nickel should have taken 2 rounds to finish Cody Brundage, and the fact that he did is kind of like, all right, so he's not championship material, is what you're telling me.
but do
I
you
mean,
have to be finishing dudes in the first round always to be championship material?
yeah, if you're Bo Nickel, you should be. If you're fighting Cody Brundage, you should be.
Okay, I guess.
The level of hype behind Bo Nickel, you should be. I, how old is Bo Nickel now?
28.
Yeah. Okay. So a little bit around the same age Hamzat was when Hamzat had the aura jump. 27. So I think that he could be really good, but obviously I think he beats Paul Craig. That's the important part here. I think he's going to destroy Paul Craig. I think he's going to run right through him. He's been working on his grappling, his jiu-jitsu. He's not that exposed to stuff like triangles. He's just a big, strong dude, and he's gonna blast through Paul Craig. Is what I think.
True. It looks like this is part of your 3-pick parlay, starting off with Mauricio Rufy for just moneyline favorite, and you have Bo Nickel moneyline favorite to win at minus 1,350.
Yeah, I don't know if that was my parlay. Did I get it at 1,350 on the parlay, or is that just
Yeah, that's what it's at in here.
Yeah, I'm just trying to build up a reasonable amount of profit for my bet. Okay,
That's fair.
The rupee and the nickel, I feel like, are just givens.
That's true.
They're just there to help make your parlay better.
Yeah, I mean, I put $200 on Bo Nickel to win by just finish, knockout, or submission, and that's minus 575. So there's not a whole lot of money to be made there.
Yeah,
it's a very safe bet, I'd argue.
It's perfectly fine bet.
Very true.
I was really looking to nail this parlay, so I was like, you know what, we're just going easy on these 2 fights with Rupee and Nickel. We're just going to take the good old win.
Fair enough. All right, let's keep it moving. We have the co-main event happening at lightweight. This you do not have deja vu. This is happening again for a second time. We have Charles Do Bronx Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. So when did we last do this?
I want to say like late 2020. I want to say end of 2020.
2021, May 2021 was when Michael Chandler and Charles Oliveira fought for the recently vacated belt.
Okay,
it was here where, unfortunately, Charles Oliveira won in the second round, even though we thought that it could have been stopped in the first round potentially, but
Tony
he
fought
survived.
Justin in maybe like March or April, and then Khabib fought Justin probably sometime in the fall or the winter of next year, I guess, and then these guys came out for the interim after that. Yeah. Or actually undisputed technically at the time, yeah. There was no interim, just been straight to undisputed. Yeah. Listen, here's the only important thing in this fight. I want Michael Chandler to win. That's the only important thing. And
therefore, what does that mean?
Chandler to win, he's going to lose because Charles Oliveira is in this fight. Charles Oliveira has never let a fight go the way that I want. He will beat all your favorite fighters, and he will lose to all the people you wanted to beat. That is 100% success rate for Charles Oliveira on ruining my night. So obviously, I'm betting on him because he's going to win.
Fair enough. I mean, obviously, I think part of the story on this one is Michael Chandler, which is that he legitimately was ducked and led on by Conor McGregor for multiple years. So the last time he fought was in 2022 when he got submitted by Dustin Poirier. And I mean, since arguably, is the Tony Ferguson win cool? Yeah, it was a cool front kick. At the same time, though, like Tony Ferguson is a shell of the man that he used to be. So I don't know how much
Michael
credit you can
Chandler
really put
has
behind
his
that.
best win in the UFC is Dan Hooker, and a version of Dan Hooker that honestly isn't even as good as the Dan Hooker that we have right now. And that was kind of his first fight in the UFC. People kind of weren't ready for what's Michael Chandler going to be like coming into the UFC out of Bellator, bulldog that he is. And I think he's a good matchup against Dan Hooker, and he got him. I still think that he's a good matchup against Charles Oliveira. I think that he definitely won the first round in their last fight, and he had absolutely the potential to finish Charles. Charles has been a lot more defensively responsible in the past few years since he's been on this run than he used to be. He has been a lot more. He's been a lot more grit in him, a lot more biting down to the mouthpiece and getting it done when he has to. I think there's a world in which Michael Chandler knocks down Charles Oliveira early, as happened with Charles Oliveira in most of his fights, and then Michael Chandler just pounces on him and manages to finish it. But honestly, in the last fight with Charles Oliveira's last fight with Arman Tsarukyan, we kind of saw that Charles Oliveira has gotten even better at just not being finished out of his guard. Not necessarily winning. I think that is a major issue for Charles Oliveira is that he will just sit there and play guard and lose rounds. He's way too willing to do that, but certainly not getting finished. And with the way that Michael Chandler fights, what we've seen so far in the UFC, I find it hard to believe that somebody's not getting to finish at some point in this fight. And I just think that Michael Chandler is more finishable than Charles Oliveira is at this point in time. But I still wouldn't be surprised if Michael Chandler, hits him with a big hook, puts him down, and then, finishes or rock Charles Oliveira on the ground. It wouldn't be crazy if that happened, but I just don't think that's the most likely scenario.
It's fair. I definitely agree with your sentiment that like somebody's getting finished. Like this fight is not going the distance. And I think one of the big questions for me about this fight is Charles Oliveira, which is that when he was on the title run, what we saw was that he was pretty aggressive on the feet. Actually, he knocked down Dustin Poirier, he knocked down Justin Gaethje, and he even finished Michael Chandler with punches. Didn't even submit Michael Chandler, but and his win over Beneil Dariush was also phenomenal too. Just first round finish, just absolute masterclass. The thing with Charles Oliveira though is that he does get knocked down himself. But the thing is that when he was on the title run, we kind of saw this like weird thing where it's like Dustin Poirier did it and Justin Gaethje did it, whereas they knocked down Charles Oliveira and they don't follow it up. They don't follow him down there. What they're hoping for, I think, is they're hoping for that walk-off knockout so that they don't have to fight on the ground or do anything. Because people are really scared of Charles Oliveira on the ground, and understandably so, unless your name is Islam Makhachev, obviously here. But the question for me is who is willing to follow that shot to the ground and go for the finish? And the answer for me is Michael Chandler. Because Michael Chandler at this point in his career, I think he's just out here just for fun and he wants to be the most entertaining man in combat sports. And I think he backs it up despite still losing. These are still spectacular losses though. Like you can't tell me that none of these fights were very entertaining because they all were.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, both of them. Both of them have never been in a boring fight so far as I've known them. And I don't think they're going to be on this one. But yeah, absolute finish. I mean, I will give it. Arman Tsarukyan did foul Charles Oliveira to the ground. He definitely was not scared to do that. Unfortunately, Arman Tsarukyan also has piss poor fight IQ and wasn't able to finish Charles Oliveira. Probably should have let him stand back up. Charles Oliveira has that really long, aggressive sort of Muay Thai stance that he fights with. Obviously not strict Muay Thai, but more so than most other people. That's because he's not afraid of people taking him down, generally speaking. He's okay if they take him down and go to the ground, which while that's his strength, tactically, in terms of his ability to operate off the ground, is definitely a weakness strategically. Because like I said, he's willing to just give rounds up in that same way.
Fair enough. At the same time, though, I don't think Michael Chandler is someone that really cares about the scorecards too much. He's always looking for a finish. So,
Most
yeah,
likely it's going to be finished. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, I think this
Probably
is going
same
to
thing
be
as last time.
correct. So one of the other things Uncle Chael likes to talk about is the idea that when you have a rematch, it's typically more likely to go to a decision because the fighters feel more like tentative or they're trying to like think about it more as opposed to just go. If there's anyone who breaks that mold, I think it probably is Michael Chandler, which is that he just like doesn't care. He's just in there to scrap.
He doesn't have a
So
choice in the matter. Charles
that's
Oliveira
true.
is gonna go after him as well. I between the two of them, I think they're both gonna get after it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. All right. So let's go to the bets on this one. I believe this is the final part of your parlay for just moneyline Charles Oliveira at minus 265. That brings your 3-pick parlay to a final odds of minus 156, which you put $800 on out of your possible 1,000.
I'm basically putting all my money on Charles Oliveira to win. Yeah.
That's kind of one way to put it. Yeah.
The Bo Nickel and
They just help bump those odds up.
the Ruby fights, I sort of saw as like, no, I don't think there's a lot of great money that I want to go playing weird games with that. I'd rather just bet at minus 150 on Charles Oliveira to win and just take the Bo Nickel and the Ruby fights as givens, pretty much.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
I didn't like any crazy bets on the other two fights in this card. I looked at this whole card. I was like, as far as betting goes, and as far as the main card goes, maybe I might be interested in some weird stuff in the undercard, but I didn't want to get too deep into that this time. So I just was like, I think the answer is just put together a high probability parlay and just dump the money on it.
That's fair. I understand it. I ended up just picking Charles Oliveira for straight money line with $200 here. Again, minus 265, favorite to win.
Sure.
I unfortunately think that Michael Chandler, I don't want to call him a journeyman per se, but I think he does a very good job of playing villain of the week that gets starched by all your favorite fighters and then still has unique moments every once in a while. But they're never bad fights, so you're always happy to see him fight, even though, like, theoretically, the guy's only ever won, like, he's had one good win in the UFC, although he technically is 2-3. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah, 100%. I think we're in agreement.
All right, that brings us to the big one. We have John Bones Jones versus Stipe Miocic. What is Stipe's?
Stipe. What about him? What is his what?
He doesn't have a nickname or anything, huh? All right, fair enough. We just have Stipe.
Well, that's pretty
short,
Stipe. Yeah,
short arm Stipe.
That's exactly what it is. Short legs, short arm Stipe.
True. All right, so this is obviously the fight that we've literally been waiting years to see at this point. John Jones is now at heavyweight, fighting for the heavyweight strap, even though he already has it. But he's going against Stipe Miocic, who is arguably one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. Although the odd part about this fight is that the last time we saw Stipe was in 2021, and the last time we saw John Jones outside of the Cyril Gane fight was in 2020, early 2020. So I'm not going to say that they have ring rust, but at the same time, it's been a hot minute since we've seen these boys.
To be fair, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, people are really talking about Stipe, being out of the game for so long. But I mean, John Jones. So Stipe fought DC after John Jones fought Dominic Reyes. And then lost to Francis Ngannou, and then the only fight that John has had since then has been Cyril Gane. And so John's been in there recently, and so at least we've seen him, and he looked great against Cyril Gane. Kind of absolutely exposed Cyril Gane's wrestling, right? I think the consensus here is very much just we all think that John Jones is probably just going to win. He's younger by about 5 years. He's been in this game a lot longer than Stipe. He was the champion years before Stipe, a young 20-year-old John Jones. He's got a better resume, and people would say abilities overall. The thing that you give to Stipe is, well, I mean, he's a heavyweight, so maybe 42 isn't the worst the worst age that he could be at, right? He's as tall as John Jones. He's not quite as long, But he's a wrestle boxer, which has given John Jones issues in the past. People have brought it before. And definitely just boxing in general has been John Jones' weakness. And what makes it even better for Stipe is that he's out wrestled Daniel Cormier at times. He was on equal footing with Daniel Cormier in wrestling, and that puts him in a great position. That with a little bit more weight on him and a similar size on him as John Jones right now, that you think, what? Maybe John Jones doesn't have the wrestling advantage in this one, or at least maybe his wrestling can be neutralized. And if his wrestling is neutralized, then you really got to think like, could Stipe expose John Jones boxing? It's absolutely possible. I don't think it's the most likely scenario. I think the most likely scenario is John Jones goes in there and is the GOAT and wins. But if you want to look at the odds on this one, I think they have John Jones at minus like 500 or 600 or something like that. Stipe at like plus 450, I think is what it was at. That's a little ridiculous in my personal opinion.
As we can tell by you putting just $100 on straight up Stipe to win for plus 455.
That's just too good to pass up.
I think I disagree with those odds as well. I think it's a slightly closer fight than that, because plus 455 is that's very, very one-sided. But at the same time, though, I do personally believe that I think John's going to take it, and I think that John's going to take it by a finish. And even then, I think a lot of people agree with me, because the odds for that one was minus 175. So I put $200 on that. Do I hate that John Jones is the GOAT? Yeah, I do. But at the same time, he's just that guy. He is that guy. I don't know what to tell you.
If you take away Stipe being 42 and you take away him getting knocked out by Francis Ngannou, then this is obviously a way closer fight, right? I mean, if this was happening and we had Stipe, who had just beat Daniel Cormier in the trilogy, these odds are way closer. Even if you take current John Jones, obviously. So the question is, how much do you factor in Stipe being 42, Stipe being out of the game for 4 years or so, I think, or now. For how do you factor in getting that bad knockout from Francis Ngannou? I don't think you factor that knockout too bad, because it's Francis Ngannou, first of all. And I hate Francis Ngannou because it's just not fair, and it trivializes the entire sport when you can knock people out like that. It was a long time. He's obviously had a lot of time to heal, as far as brain injury goes, and rest his chin a little bit. So I don't factor that in too much. It's really just the age. That's really what it is. It's the age and the alleged ring rust. But it's not too dissimilar from the ring rust of John Jones going from Dominic Reyes to Cyril Gane fights. And obviously we saw in that one, John Jones ran through Cyril Gane, made it look easy.
Agreed.
So I could see 2-1, 3-1 odds for John in this fight, just based on the age. I think that's a reasonable assumption. But at 4, 5-1 odds, I'm going, come on, man. You put a little respect on Stipe's name. Stipe.
That's true. So with John Jones, I think one of the other questions is, how well is he going to perform in the heavyweight division? I mean, if you go off Derek Lewis's assessment of the heavyweight division, is that it's just a bunch of fat guys and anybody can do pretty well up here. It's true, but at the same time, Stipe is not just one of the fat guys in the division. So I think that's definitely going to be something. John Jones definitely looks like a heavyweight when we saw him fighting against Cyril Gane. So he's put on the muscle. He is the correct size, and he's also not a fat guy. So
yeah.
I think this is a pretty decent weight class for him. I do still think that light heavyweight is absolutely his weight class, but he chose to do other things, which is this.
I also like to point out Stipe is coming in about 10 pounds heavier than John Jones and looking leaner, honestly, as well. He looks leaner and he looks heavier than John Jones right now. And I think that's the direction that I would want to see Stipe going. If I were to expect him, if I were to give him a good chance of winning this one. So we saw him at weigh-ins, and I think I'd give us a little bit of extra information. And yeah, I'm putting like 2-1 on John Jones on this one. So at plus 450 for Stipe, 100% I'm snapping that up. How do I see this going? I see John Jones testing the waters with a takedown. It's going to be a big question. I do think the size and the experience of Stipe is going to be like, well, maybe he steps the first one, And then if we see John Jones starting to chain wrestle, I could see him getting Stipe down, just having that younger degree of athleticism. He's a full-time heavyweight fighter. He's not a part-time fighter, full-time firefighter. He's also a full-time felon, so it's impressive that he can run two jobs like that. And I think if we chain wrestle, but I think on the feet, Stipe is going to be annoyed by John Jones' range. John Jones is really good at using that range, which is an important factor. Some guys are long, but not that great at keeping guys at the end of their length. And Stipe hasn't really had to fight people who are keeping him at range like that. But obviously fighting against shorter guys like Daniel Cormier and all that. So if Stipe can get inside on the feet effectively, then I think he exposes John Jones boxing and boxes him up real good, actually. But if John Jones can keep him on the outside, and if John Jones can chain wrestle and just use that younger athleticism and maybe explosiveness, versus Stipe's probably got a good amount of strength and weight behind him, that firefighting muscle, then I think that he's gonna. I think that John Jones is going to take it in that way. That's my opinion on how it goes when it goes down. And obviously, I'm putting 2-1 on John that it goes in John's favor.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I like it, but there's someone who really doesn't like this fight, and he did happen to weigh in as the backup fighter. That is none other than Tommy Aspinall. What are the odds that we have some sort of like freak accident and then we get the true fight to unify the belts? Is that in the cards, or is Stipe just looks too good right now? I mean, yeah, we're past weigh-ins.
Both of them look great weighing in. They look good. We're past weigh-ins. Almost certainly not going to happen. And whether either of them continue and take the Tom Aspinall fight afterwards, I don't know. Between the two of them, I'd probably say that just based on the way that John's been acting, Stipe is probably more likely to fight Tom Aspinall than John Jones is. And I think Stipe has said pretty explicitly, this is my retirement fight, but pretty explicitly, but not very clearly, being Stipe. So we'll see. Maybe either one of them gets in the cage at the end. Tom walks in and they say, "All right, Tom, I'll give you the fight." I could see that happening.
I actually think that is less likely than Tom being the backup, than Tom stepping in as the backup fighter. Specifically this week, John Jones has actually been out on the press tour saying that he has absolutely zero interest in fighting Tom Aspinall.
Yeah.
The only name he's said that he has any interest in at all is Alex Pereira.
Yeah. John Jones is very clearly thinking about, where is he going to be on the GOAT list? He doesn't want to take a fight that he thinks he's not the favorite in at this point in his career. And is that a bitch move? Maybe. But
a little bit.
I could maybe see Stipe saying, you know what, I'm going to fight Tom Aspinall if Stipe wins. I would see that way more likely than John Jones saying that.
Oh, for sure. I mean, John is explicitly talked about the matchup as well. Some of the press conferences this week, he's like, "Why do you guys want me to fight Tom Aspinall?" He's like, I don't want to do it. It's not good for my legacy. You want me to fight a larger guy who's arguably a more true heavyweight, who's younger. And he's like, "Nah, I want to go fight Alex. Alex is the money fight. Let's go fight Alex." And they're like, "Come on, but Tom's right here. He's the champ." He's like, "But hear me out. What if I fought a guy in a weight class lower than me?"
Alex is a tough fight for John Jones too. Alex is a tough fight, especially the light heavyweight. If John Jones got to cut down, that's a tough fight for John Jones, I think. But
I think if that fight happens, they do it at heavyweight.
Obviously Tom is the harder fight between the two.
I think if they do Alex versus John, they do it at heavyweight, because I think it's the thing that solidifies everything for both of them, which is that trying to say that Stipe is the heavyweight champ, it's like, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. So why are you fighting him for that belt?
That would be embarrassing to do it at heavyweight, honestly. It would be embarrassing for John Jones to do that heavyweight. Only if Alex wins and then goes on to fight Tom at heavyweight would I put any respect in that fight.
Okay, that's fair. So Alex would not be the first triple champ unless he fights Tom Aspinall.
I'm 100%. Yeah, it's just not real. I'm 100% okay with John Jones wanting to fight Stipe first. I do get that, actually. He said he wanted Stipe way back when Tom Aspinall wasn't really in the picture in the same way at that time, and he's held consistent to that. And he's basically said, "I want to fight Stipe and retire." And if he does that, I respect it. If he fights Stipe and vacates the belt and fights Alex Pereira at 205, I'm gonna go, okay, you know what? That is a real fight. You're definitely ducking Tom, but that doesn't make your 205 legacy any worse. It just sort of says, you know what? I'm not going to credit your heavyweight that highly. But if if he were to fight Tom at heavyweight, or Pereira were to move to heavyweight and fight Tom, then I weigh that pretty highly. But not Pereira winning versus John Jones only, and then pretending that that was a real heavyweight fight. If John Jones isn't willing to fight Tom Aspinall.
That's fair. Here's the thing, though, for me. If they do fight at light heavyweight, I don't know if that really adds anything to Alex Pereira, which is that Alex, I think, is at the point. It's crazy to say this because he's only been like, what, 3 years in the UFC at this point, and he's already double champ status and looking to chase after that first triple.
Yeah. 3.5.
Yeah.
Something like that.
As far as Alex goes, beating John Jones an accolade. Absolutely. To be the only man that has ever stopped John Jones, yeah, that's absolutely a feather in the cap. But at the same time, I mean, if we're just out here just trying to collect belts, then I think the correct answer is go fight Tom Aspinall and not mess around with John Jones at light heavyweight. Because if John Jones comes down to light heavyweight, beats Alex Pereira, gets the belt, then leaves, that just puts everything in all sorts of messes. The only thing that actually fixes is the heavyweight picture, in which case they probably just declare Tom Aspinall, you are heavyweight king. Congratulations, no more interim. And now we just go back to an absolute kerfuffle at light heavyweight, and we just go through the round robin of all the top 5 fighting each other again. And that would be a mess.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens up to tomorrow night. We'll see what they actually do. I'm tired of listening to them talk about it.
This is true. So we have one final thing to cover for the show, and that is this random parlay that I've been alluding to the entire time.
Oh yeah,
I think we're going to go 5 for 5. I think we are going to see 5 finishes and 5 fights on the main card.
Is your parlay but your parlay requires specific finishes? Is the thing?
Nope. No specific finishes. I just think that there will be.
You just have a 5 finish parlay.
Correct. Doesn't matter who finishes who, but I think it's going to be a short night in New York City. We're not going to go the distance on any of them.
It's going to be a short night when on the second fight of the main card you lose your parlay. But
that's one of the risks that we run.
How much is it worth? What's the odds on that?
Plus 472.
472. So you're saying that more than let's say more than 1 in 5 times or so, you think there's going to be there would be all finishes straight down the main card between Bo Nickel.
Let me give you the odds on this.
Charles Oliveira and Michael Chandler. That's a good, pretty much locks and those. I'd say I'd give you better than 2-to-1 odds so far.
There's one fight. There's one fight that changes the odds on this. No. Stipe and John Jones is a minus 475 not going the distance. Because remember, they're fighting 5 rounds. Plenty of time, baby. There's one fight on this card.
They've both been the distance plenty of times before.
I guess. But what I'm saying is there's one fight on this card that could give me trouble, and it's the women's fight. You make a very good point that when the women encounter the higher level, that higher echelon, the top tier of competition, they start having a lot more decisions. I understand that. At the same time, though, plus 165, that's not too crazy. That's not too crazy at all.
I wouldn't do it for less than plus 800.
What?
Yeah, I don't want to do plus 800. I think you've got a 50-50 on John Jones, Stipe, and I think you've got worse than a 50-50 on the girls. And then I think that you got a 50-50 that the other 3 all go to finishes.
I still like it. I think it's fun.
It's fun. It's fun. I just don't think it's a high return.
So here's the thing: is that I feel good about this, which means that I have to be wrong based on maximum pain theory.
Yeah, well, there's what it is. Charles Oliveira is obviously going to lose the decision to Michael Chandler somehow and absolutely ruin both of our bets, as he always does.
Oh God, that's actually worst case scenario. That's too likely as well. Oh no.
Yeah, that's exactly how this one is going. Charles ruins both of our bets, losing a decision. But then I'd be happy if Michael Chandler won. So maybe he'll win a decision versus Michael Chandler.
Look, if Michael Chandler wins, that'd be amazing. And then maybe we see Charles Oliveira start to have a Tony Ferguson-esque run and just go on a 9-fight losing streak. But
no one should do that ever.
True.
Don't wish that on my boy. I wouldn't wish that even on my worst Charles Oliveira. I'm the worst villain in the UFC.
Unfortunately, yeah, but that's true. Other than that, though, how do you feel about the card overall on the hype scale? Like, do you think, or maybe not hype scale, but like best cards of the year? Where does this fall?
I
Because
from
remember,
looking at
we've
the cards, I'm gonna say not very high.
really,
Um, I'm excited for the outcomes. Uh, Listen, if the main card goes Roofy gets a quick finish. Okay, here's the thing. At least Roofy and Bo Nickel are going to put on interesting performances. I'm interested to see them win or lose, and I'm happy with the outcome either way. Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler. As long as there's a finish, I'm pretty happy with it. It could be worse. I'd rather Michael Chandler wins, but a finish of any kind I think is going to be interesting. Um, John Jones versus Stipe. If John Jones just old man just beats old man with Kane, then yeah, how many times have to do less than old man? Then I'm not going to be very happy about that fight. I don't
that's
want to
true.
watch
That's
that.
true.
But if it's a life and death fight between the two of them, or if Stipe wins, I'm all about it. I'm all about it. But definitely, if John Jones just beats old man with Kane, that's awful, and I don't want to watch it.
You have good points. Overall, though, I think that this is a mid to high level card for me. Obviously John Jones Stipe is a super fight of the ages, and Charles Oliveira Michael Chandler. Even though it's a rematch, like I think that's something everyone wants to see again just for fun. That's really where your star power ends. I mean, Bo Nickel is obviously an up and comer along with Rufia, but at the same time, though, I think both of those fights have the potential to be very entertaining and have just be a highlight moment for both of them. The only possible thing that could drag it down is the women's fight if it goes to a kind of odd 3-round decision kind of thing. But I do also believe there's a decent chance that Karine Silva could also just get a good finish and just make it look easy. I think it's entirely possible.
This could
So,
be phenomenal or it could be terrible, top to bottom. Early prelims to main event. It just all depends on how these fights go.
oh, for sure. Like we start off by watching Chris Weidman just get obliterated and old man beaten with Kane as well.
Yeah,
Like
a
what if
Jim Miller win, super cool. A Jim Miller brutal knockout, not as cool.
what if
Not
this is
as
the
cool.
card where the old people just get put in the retirement home forcibly?
Is that Marcus McGee in this case, 34?
Maybe.
10 fights in his professional career, maybe. I don't know.
Like this is the card where we see all the old people just get ruthlessly beat and just people just like don't even want to watch by the time we get to the main card. They're just like no more elder brutality.
Dude, Michael Chandler's like 38. Michael Chandler's older than John Jones.
All right. I'm just saying.
It could be.
Maximum pain theory would suggest that this goes exactly the way that it goes, which is the old people get pushed down the stairs.
Michael John Jones is only 37. John Jones
Whatever.
is only 37.
For sure. All right. Before we go ahead and head to a finish, you got any other interesting points, comments, concerns about fight week? Anything interesting going on in the world?
I'm super excited. If Stipe wins, that's going to be incredible. That's going to absolutely put Stipe, in my opinion, way up on the pound for pound GOAT list, which I already think he should be at a minimum in everyone's top 10s and likely in their top 5s, just because he has been fighting dudes bigger than him for a lot of his career. So I put him very high on my pound for pound. And if he beats John Jones, that's phenomenal. A 37-year-old John Jones who just starched Cyril Gahn is certainly impressive, despite how much people want to track from him. But if John Jones beats Stipe, then I don't care. If he runs through Stipe and it's like, okay, cool, he beat up a 42-year-old man. That's just the reality. That's what the outcome's going to be.
Very interesting fight. I guess as a bonus, we can give people a little tidbit because it's Friday night. Well, Friday afternoon, night for you ish. We have Mike Tyson and Jake Paul going on. What do you think about that one?
So if Mike Tyson wins, obviously that's great. It puts him way great up pound all time list. But if Jake Paul wins, then he just knocked out an old man, and I don't care, and it's not impressive.
That's true. At the same time, though, if that goes to a decision, I mean, granted, it's only 8 rounds because that's how Jake Paul fights, which I would argue I think is a good change for boxing format. So if they do go to a decision, how does that reflect on both of these fighters? Which is that it's like what if you're Jake, you're unable
Mike Tyson
to fit
win
in.
the decision? I'm not going to watch it unless Mike Tyson wins. I'm not going to watch any of it until I find out the outcome.
Oh, you're doing that?
Yeah. Are you kidding me? I'm not gonna watch a Jake Paul fight to go watch him beat up another. It's like, oh, cool, you knocked out another old man. I'm not gonna
Yeah, but
watch that.
you could watch Mike Tyson knock out Jake Paul live.
I could watch it 1,000 times on replay instead, and I will.
Yeah, but if you already know the ending, it
no, it's still satisfying.
What?
It's still satisfying. Well, you never go rewatch like old.
Like, look, you're making the argument of like, do we go just like rewatch Rock Lee versus Gara all the time just to get hyped up, even though we know how it goes?
Absolutely, exactly. I know how it goes. Still gonna watch it. I'm gonna watch Dustin Poirier versus Max Holloway again. Yeah, absolutely.
I rewatched that Holloway versus Gaethje fight. I mean, I'm sure people just rewatched the knockout clip, the last 15 seconds just on repeat. But overall, that was a good fight too.
Yeah, worth rewatching. See, and now I'm gonna rewatch Mike Tyson knock out Jake Paul if it happens.
One of the funny comments that I've heard people say about that fight is they're like, "Oh yeah, these things are scripted," and like everyone knows what's going on, and it's like, do you think Mike Tyson knows what's going on? Because I could see Mike Tyson just being like, "Fuck it," and then just absolutely just dusting this kid. Yeah, like Mike Tyson's like thinking about the script, like, "Oh yeah, we're just gonna have a good fight. We're just gonna have some back and forth," and then he just like gets popped in the face one time when he wasn't expecting it, and he just says, "Fuck this guy," and just flatlines Jake with just like a 1-2.
Yeah, I wouldn't bet on Mike Tyson throwing a fight. I don't think he would throw a fight. And if he did agree to throw a fight, I wouldn't count on him anyway.
Fair enough. True. All right, that's what we got going on. Folks, thanks for joining us for Fantasy Fight League for UFC 309 coming up this Saturday in Madison Square Garden, New York City. We got John Jones versus Stipe Miocic. We got some weird parlays going on, and Taylor thinks I'm a fool for a plus 475 parlay, but we'll have to see who is the fool at the end of it. Hint, it's probably going to be both of us when Charles Oliveira loses by decision to Michael Chandler. So until then, we will catch you guys later. Thanks so much for tuning in. Adios.